Okay, welcome back to Sikastan. Welcome back to the annexed office, which is actually my kitchen. Hopefully, this will be one of the last videos we have from Sikastan isolation. Now, we're about to do Fitz's top kind of outcomes of last year or 2021 a year in review or something along the lines of that video. I do want to prefix this with the fact that Garth went first and probably took most of the cool, exciting things to talk about, and I'm not just going to mention the same things again. So, here are some different ones. Here are some things you guys mightn't be fully aware of or might be kind of hearing about here and there. But these are my 5 cool things that happened last year. So the first thing, and this is the kind of backbone of what Sika Strength is the athletes, the stable of human specimens who are on the Sika books at the moment are booming. They're flying. They have had a couple who are on one-to-one coaching who've just gone to become professional athletes or are now training as professional athletes. It's their full-time job. We have more athletes who are pushing towards that in the next year or year and a half. The kind of caliber and the level of progression we're seeing is phenomenally good, right? So not only are the guys and girls on one-to-one coaching doing really well, the general population of Sika athletes, so what most of you would consider to be like the members Facebook group, we're talking about like between 8 and 900 people at the moment, and the progress we see from week to week there is what Sika is based on. You know, like we've a lot of videos, a lot of your main interaction with us will be via these kind of informational or entertainment videos, but the main backbone of the company, what we're founded on and what our kind of day to day is working with athletes, making athletes better, and it's seeing those kind of levels of progress, seeing the level of interaction we get when we put up coaching information, when we put up opportunities for coaching feedback twice a week in the Facebook group. We just had one today, and it's multiple PB attempts put in there. People who are really getting a great grasp of like what are the important things to look for in their training, and the real kind of positive thing for me and the real positive thing for Owen when he looks at it is we now get athletes who have asked the question before. So what do you do if you miss your last set of squats on a certain training session during the squat cycle? And we'll now have 4 or 5 people in the group who will straight away ping back a message and say, oh, the lad said this on November 5th, go check out the video, or they'll actually just be able to quote what we said in the video. So that's always, in terms of like general coaching strategies, you want somebody to have an understanding of both the program, the method of progression in the program, but also what you're to do if things go wrong. And it's really beneficial for us. It's really kind of encouraging for us when we see the athletes doing so well and kind of having a very good broad understanding of why everything's in the program, why things are certain ways, what you're to do if things don't go great. The next thing is more opportunities and kind of more diverse opportunities. And this is when I talked about Owen stealing all the cool ones, when he talked about growth and the opportunity for more international seminars, the opportunity for international training camps. These are really some of the coolest things we get to do. You know, it gets us out of the office, gets us meeting you guys and girls in person. It gets us actually interacting with athletes that we don't deal with on a daily or a weekly basis. So they are really exciting things. The other exciting things though are like working with companies like Owen last year, working with companies who are developing new weightlifting shoes, working with the companies who are developing our merchandise to try and get just a slightly more diverse offering out there. So those kind of opportunities were really cool in 2021. We got to work with more companies, different companies, doing some of the kind of workplace webinars. So this is certainly something that a lot of you wouldn't be aware of, is Sika as a company often offers consultancy to normal big multinational companies for like employee health and well-being seminars, physical activity while home working, all of these kind of flash in the pan one-off talks and one-off kind of webinars that we'd offer remotely. Those things were going really, really well last year. Obviously, the inclusion of home working was a big help for that because companies kind of had to reach out and had to get somebody in, such as ourselves, to offer these services. But they're certainly a great a great kind of growth point and a great point of diversification for the company, just getting our tentacles out there, making sure Sikastan is proliferating. So the next thing then, and this is definitely more of a kind of positive for me rather than for Sika, but definitely for Sika as well, is finding jiu-jitsu, finding a kind of sporting outlet again. So I haven't played or trained really in competitive sports for 6 years maybe. So obviously competitive sports is a huge part of me as a person. A huge part of probably my personality in general was that kind of like training constantly, going, competing, playing games, playing matches. So to find a sport again, to find a sport with a phenomenal crew, has just been unbelievably kind of enlightening. And it really, really is good to be back into like proper training, proper like competitive natured training, which makes a big difference for me. Like I'm definitely not a kind of, and this sounds strange because jiu-jitsu is an individual athlete sport, but I'm not really an individual sport athlete. I'd be much happier in a kind of team sport environment. But this definitely has the same feel as that. It definitely has the same feel of like going and training with the crew, working under a coach. All these things have been unbelievably refreshing, and it's definitely a big kind of driving factor. Even though it came from the last month of the year, it's definitely been one of the major kind of positives of 2021 is getting back into kind of semi-competitive sport, or just pushing towards competitive sport again, and getting some enjoyment back into training. Very much preceding that was me getting back into competitive training and actually doing a full training cycle for the 5 minute mile and the 500 pound squat in the same day. Now, it certainly didn't have the desired outcome, as most of you will know. A failed attempt in mid-April was the kind of last we heard of that. It's definitely going to be on the cards for next year. It's probably going to be on the cards kind of kicking off in March or April this year, and hopefully a training cycle lasting until around September or October. We'll just have to see how the kind of numbers come in. But that was definitely a really kind of driving factor for last year. So getting through a very, very difficult period of training, really pushing hard for those few months, was a phenomenal kind of driver for me, a really good point of motivation for me just to push through. Obviously the situations weren't ideal. We didn't have a track to run in, we didn't have a gym to lift in, so all these things weren't really great. But just going down to a holiday home we had, setting up a gym in a shed, training there for the last kind of 2.5 months of the training block, and just pushing hard was very, very good. Obviously, it resulted in an injury, which meant that outcome wasn't ideal, but it was really good to kind of get back into competitive training again. I think it definitely is good if you're coaching as well, just to be in that kind of, it doesn't have to be super competitive training, but just in fairly regimented and fairly disciplined training. So like just making sure you're showing up, making sure you're sticking to what you're planning out yourself, staying within the guidelines that you've kind of agreed with yourself. Obviously, it was different for the 5 minute mile and the 500 pound squat, because I was doing all the programming, I was doing all the planning, I was doing all the coaching in inverted commas. But it's still kind of, it just puts you into that athlete's mindset a small bit more, and it certainly does dovetail in nicely to coaching. So if you're constantly interacting with people, trying to get them to alter behavioral habits, trying to get them to stick to certain things you're working on, it definitely is good to be in that headspace and understand like, oh, look, I know it's quite shitty, but you have to do this, or I know it's going to suck for a few weeks, but you have to do this. It's just an easier pill to swallow if you know your coach is training as well. The last thing then, and this is to do with Sika as a company, the speed, the operational tempo, the kind of general crackhead energy that Sika and Sikastan and all of you guys who are clicking on these videos, the tempo and the speed that the company is going at is phenomenal. It's genuinely infectious. Hopefully we have some interaction with you as a watcher on a fairly regular basis, and you might just get to pop into this every so often. If you see some of the training vlog videos or what the business vlog used to be, you might have gotten an idea. it just keeps going. The ball keeps rolling, and it's unbelievably exciting to be involved in. So I have to thank ye as a watcher for this. If there was other things you thought should have been in our kind of highlights or top moments of 2021, please put them down below. Comments always help, even if they're just for the algorithm. Comments, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. And hopefully this background will have a stag's head here and a Sika strength sign here and a little ginger fella just here in the near future. Thanks.